Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all North and South Carolina students. Sponsored by the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers and StriveScan. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter at any time. Your microphone and camera are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at CACRAO.org. That's CACRAO.org. The presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at the same website, CACRAO.org. That's CACRAO.org. I would now like to turn it over to our presenter.
All righty. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jerry DeWicki. I am the interim director for admission at Butler. Been at Butler for about 19 years, and I recruit in the Carolinas. Actually lived in Charlotte for a little bit, did my master's at UNC Charlotte, and so real familiar with the area, travel a lot there. So I'm your main point of contact through the whole process of considering Butler. I read your application, make the admission decision in most cases. In some cases, your application will go through a committee review, but generally speaking, I'm the one that you work with throughout the whole process. So we're going to run through a couple of about 30 or so different slides. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Butler overall, some of our academic offerings and everything. So I'm going to jump in and go ahead and get started. So we are primarily an undergraduate institution. We have about 4,700 undergrads. That's our mission, undergraduate education. We have about 500 or 600 graduate students. Most of those are working professionals, part-time students who take classes in the evening. So they don't really have much influence on campus. We don't have teaching assistants. We don't have graduate assistants teaching classes. All of our classes are taught by professors. So again, undergraduate education is our mission. We have average class size of about 22. You're never going to have a big lecture hall class of 200 or 300 students. I believe only 4% of our classes are above 50. And even in your first year, your first semester, second semester, the first year seminar course that's required is capped at 18. So right off the bat, you're in a class that's below our university average. Really low student faculty ratio, 11-to-1. Again, just indicative that you're going to get to know your professors are going to get to know you. They keep office hours. They're available before class, after class. Sometimes they will, if it's a small enough class and they live in the neighborhood, they'll host the class at their house and it just, have dinner or things like that. That happens not infrequently at Butler. So again, if you want to go someplace and be anonymous, might not be the best environment for you, but we tend to be more of a personal type place. You'll see that we were ranked as #1 regional university in the Midwest by U.S. News and World Report. Rankings are great. It's not that we're not proud of it, but I hope none of you are choosing a school solely based on rankings. There's a lot of information that goes into making those rankings. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that you want to investigate and kind of figure out if a place is the right fit for you. So the #1 school or the #10 school or the #100 school doesn't really matter if it's not the right environment for you. We are made up about 55% of our students are from out of state and 45% in-state from Indiana. This has been a flip-flop from about 10 years ago. So in the last decade, we've really become a little bit more of a national institution. Basketball certainly helped with that, but we've also been very intentional the last 5-6 years to travel more widely across the US on the East Coast and the West Coast and the Southeast. So we are going a lot of different places that we didn't previously. So it's been really fascinating to watch that transition as we become a little bit more national. Our students are represented by about 45 different states, 30 different countries, and about 17% of our students self-identify as multicultural or international students. Again, that's a space where we've really improved over the last 10 to 12 years. Even as late as the late 2000s, we were maybe only about 9 or 10% multicultural students. That's something that we're putting a lot of energy into and will continue to do so. Academically, we have about 70 or so different majors across 6 different academic colleges. One of the questions I frequently get is how easy is it to double major? It's very common. Your generation is very, very big on double majoring, or a major and 2 minors, or a major and 3 minors, or a double major and a minor. This is very common. It's pretty easy to do across the different colleges. You do come into Butler through one door, but it's fairly easy in almost all cases. There are some exceptions, but almost all cases for you to be able to add a second major and talk to your academic advisor about that possibility. So I'm going to jump in and talk about each of the colleges in brief. Again, one of the things I will say at the outset is all of these different majors have great websites. I know that sounds a little bit like a cop-out, but it's actually quite true. You can go and see what courses are required. You can see all of the faculty, what their research interests are, where they went to school, what they've done, where students have interned, where students have gone on to professional school or professional work positions after they leave. So all of our departmental websites are done very, very well, and you can gain a lot of information from there. If in the end you look through there and still have questions, certainly reach out to me, but also certainly feel free to reach out to the individual department. So jumping in, first off is our College of Communication. You'll see on a couple of the slides that we've really intentionally tried to build out some 3-year degree plans in the past few years. So I think we have something along the lines of about 30 or 35 different majors that have the opportunity for you to take some courses between your freshman and sophomore year and sophomore and junior year, and finish your degree in 3 years if you choose to do that. You can certainly accelerate through it. It's entirely up to you. If you want to have a traditional 4-year experience, that's certainly fine as well. But you'll see that pop up from time to time. So the College of Communication includes things like journalism, broadcast, print journalism. We have a music industry studies program. We have a sports media program as well. Communication studies, communication disorders programs. So it's communication disorders would be like speech pathology. These are very well respected programs. You'll see that we really highlight the internship opportunities in Indianapolis. We're a large media market, I believe about the 25th or 26th largest media market in the country. So our students are able to work in print, in radio, in television, in advertising in Indianapolis and have some of those professional experiences alongside their classroom experiences. Also, of course, on campus, we have great facilities as well. There's editing bays, studios, there's a number of student-run productions that happen. So you have access to all of that as well. And most recent year, College Communication had a 99% placement rate. So excellent programs there. Our College of Education is one of our smaller programs. We typically bring in maybe 40 or 50 students into the College of Education each year, but it is a very, very high quality program. You'll see on the bottom there, we have a 100% placement rate. That's been, I think, going on a 13 or 14 consecutive years that we do that, that we've had that. We are big believers in getting students into a classroom as quickly as possible. So don't be surprised if in the 3rd or 4th week of your freshman year, you are in a classroom doing student observation, ultimately doing student assisting and your 2 student teaching experiences. There are many education programs where you may not see a classroom until into your 2nd and possibly even 3rd year. So that's something that we really want to do. Make sure that this is your calling and something that you are interested in and staying with. We have a couple of lab schools in Indianapolis that we partner with. One is a high school, Shortridge High School. Another one is a K-8 school that's run almost entirely by our students, our faculty, and our alumni. It's a very well-respected program locally. It's not uncommon for our students to be offered jobs in some of the suburban or Indianapolis districts before they've even done their student teaching. So we have a great reputation locally if you wanted to stay here. But if you want to go back home or choose another state to live in, your degree is highly portable. We have reciprocity with, I believe, 40 other states. So your degree is highly portable. You can go through, begin teaching and going through the licensing process in really quite a few other states. Our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences is our largest college, includes about 40% of our student body. Again, you'll see that 3-year degree program. Many of the 3-year degree plans are contained within Liberal Arts and Sciences. So LAS includes things like humanities, great history and anthropology program, things like social sciences. We have an excellent psychology program. It's very popular, but also very high quality program. Natural sciences, biology, biochemistry, chemistry are standout programs. We have a great physics and astrophysics program. We have the largest observatory in the state of Indiana right on our campus. And we also have an engineering program that we partner with Purdue University's campus in Indianapolis. It's a dual degree program. So at the end of 5 years, it's a 5-year program. At the end of 5 years, you will have a Bachelor of Science in one of, I believe, 11 or 12 different content areas from Butler, and then a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Purdue's campus in Indianapolis in one of 6 areas of engineering. They have required internships, so that's a great program that's been running for about 20 years. It's a very unique, interesting program. You'll see that we are working on a sciences complex that's set to be finished in 2021. It's a huge expansion of our classroom and lab space. Particularly with a psychology program, they'll have a great new space for them, but also for the other sciences as well. You also see research opportunities. Again, this is something that we highlight, and I mentioned earlier, we don't have a graduate student population to speak of, and particularly in the areas of sciences. So our professors, when they are working with, when they're doing their research, they're working with our undergraduates to help them on that research. It's not uncommon for our students to be published alongside professors, to present papers at conferences, poster sessions at conferences, even from your freshman year on. This is not uncommon. We actually host 2 undergraduate research conferences on our campus that are pretty unique. One is a Midwestern conference that's held in the spring. About 1,000 students from other universities come and present on basically anything you can possibly think of. We also have a program in the summer called the Butler Summer Institute, where about 30 students are chosen to stay on campus. They receive a stipend for food and housing like a graduate student would, and do a very specific directed research project during the summer as well. So those are some of the highlights of the LAS program. Our College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences is an excellent program. This program, the 3 different majors in there would be our 6-year pharmacy program, which is a direct admit pharmacy program. Basically, come in out of high school, you do your first 2 years of pre-professional phase, and then you are automatically taken into the professional phase. You don't have to reapply. We also offer a 4-year health sciences degree and a 4-year healthcare and business program. The healthcare and business program is kind of a hybrid between the health sciences curriculum and our School of Business curriculum. So if you're looking at healthcare administration, that may be an appropriate program for you. Any of these programs, the pharmacy is a little bit more of an end point where you're going to be a licensed pharmacist. Some will go on for research after receiving that degree, but most of them will go to be practicing pharmacists. The health sciences degree is going to lead towards really anything you want it to be, towards medical school, towards PT school, towards physician assistant school. We actually do have a master's of physician assistant if you wanted to go on to that and stay at Butler. Any of those are appropriate places for our health sciences program as a landing point. Again, these are our toughest programs to get into. The admit rates for the college typically fall into about the 35 to 45% range. So you do have to have a little bit higher academic level because it is a little bit smaller program. They are smaller programs, and it also is a little bit more of a rigorous set of programs. Our Lacey School of Business includes all the things that you would typically expect in a business program: accounting, finance, marketing, international business. We have a risk management program. We have the first in the world student-run insurance program that we're aware of, at least. A brand new building that opened just last year with, I think, 110,000 square feet of classroom spaces, meeting spaces for folks that are in the business community in Indianapolis that come and work with our students directly. You'll see that real business experience is an opportunity in your sophomore year to work with other students across the business school and create your own business plan and start your own business. It's a competition-based program where you receive some seed money and then you take a service or a product to market. And anything that you get above that seed money is profit that you're able to keep. We require all of our business students to do 2 internships as built into the curriculum, so you have to do those. We're one of only a handful of schools that require that. Obviously, many students will do internships and many students will do more than 2, but again, it's something that is required of all of our students. You'll also see the line that says professional career mentors. Every student in the business school has 2 advisors. One is going to be an academic advisor, a faculty member who's going to make sure that you're working through getting all of your courses taken care of and heading towards your degree. But we also work with students to assign them to a professional career mentor in the Indianapolis business community. So this is someone that you meet with on a monthly or every other monthly basis to learn about their experience in rising up to being an executive. And quite frankly, what we hear is that they learn as much from our students as we're learning from them. So it's a great mentorship program. It's probably one of the highlights of the entire School of Business, is that very well established mentorship program that we run. And then last is our Jordan College of the Arts. JCA includes our ballet program, classical ballet program, which is probably one of the top 3 or 4 in the country. We have a music program, a full orchestra. We're one of the few ballet programs in the country that has a full orchestra that accompanies them. We have a theater program, a little bit smaller program, but great venues for them, great spaces for all the different arts programs, things like our Clues Memorial Hall, which is a 2,200 seat auditorium on campus. We have some smaller venues, the Schrott Center, which is a 450 seat theater, and then a bunch of small black box type theaters as well. We also run an Arts Plus Design program, which is sort of an interdisciplinary visual arts program. It's a little bit unique because it's going to take in elements of 2D design, 3D design, photography, drawing, painting, all of these different things. And they require all of those students to actually double major. It's a requirement for those students. So you'll see a lot of students that will do Art Plus Design, but also major in marketing or in business or communication or something along those lines as well. And if all of that, none of that seems to be exactly set in your mind, we do have a number of students that come in each year. Our largest group of students come into what we call exploratory studies. So these are students who may not be clear cut on what they want to study. There's a required course that we have all of our students go through their first semester. They do a ton of outside speakers from different professions so that you're being exposed to different things that you might be interested in. There's a lot of skills assessment that goes on, things like Myers-Briggs testing, skill assessment, different exercises in different academic areas, different professors that will come in and speak to their program. So you have the ability and the flexibility to kind of come in and still be done in 4 years, but play around with different courses. You can declare your major at any point in the first 2 years. If you're comfortable doing so 2 weeks in, great. If you are not comfortable doing so until your second year, that's fine too, and you're not going to get behind, and we have the advising and the assistance to help you through that. A couple of other highlights to kind of hit on as we talk about the academic experience, particularly at Butler. I mentioned earlier required internships in some of our programs. That's something that we push across the board. About 75 to 80% of our students will do at least one internship while they're at Butler. We have this fantastic career and professional success office that works with you on career advising, interview prep, resume prep, to really make sure that you're well positioned to get the best internships. We have something on the order of about 2,000 different organizations and employers on our database, and they're going to work with you to plug you into the Indianapolis community. One of the more common questions I get is it okay if I did an internship back home? Absolutely. Your academic advisors in the CAPS office will work with you to make sure that you're getting a good experience at a family business or some business that or organization that you have a connection to back home, making sure that you're getting quality work and work that's worthy of getting credit for that for an internship. And we've even had students that have interned overseas. So again, we're going to work with you and those offices and your advisor to make sure that you're getting a good experience. The Engaged Learning Center runs our honors program. Each year we bring in about 100 to 125 or so honors students into the university. There are 4 different eligibility requirements. If you meet any one of those, you will be invited to apply for the honors program, where there's a separate application and an essay that's required. That would be a 3.95 GPA, top 5% of your class, a 30 on the ACT, or a 1320 on the SAT. So any one of those is going to make you eligible. So some advantages to the honors program: classes that are not available to the rest of the campus. You have the opportunity to do a thesis should you wish to do so. It's something that we recommend, especially if you are looking at professional school. Going through that experience is a very valuable thing for making that next step. We also do some really great, what I would call, immersion programs in Washington, D.C. and New York City. These are programs where our students have the ability to go and do an internship in those cities, as well as have an academic component, like a course that they take. This is sort of a consortium with other schools. So it's not just going to be Butler students. You're going to be in a residence situation with students from all over the country, possibly all over the world, that are part of this group of interns that are experiencing those cities. So those are really popular programs. And then you see pre-professional school advising. It's very common for students to indicate that they're interested in pre-med or pre-law or pre-vet. And we have a set of 3 full-time advisors. Some of them are faculty, some of them are working professionals, staff professionals, that work with all of our students in setting them up for their next step. So that may mean advising you on which courses are going to be the best for going on to law school. Serving a similar role to your guidance office and your current guidance office in terms of saying, this school is going to be maybe better for you academically, or maybe your safe school versus your reach school. This law school may have what you're interested in studying a little bit better than this one. So they're going to do a lot of advising. They will also be very blunt. If a student really has their heart set on med school, but really doesn't have the academic quality to be admitted to med school, they're going to work with you to say, this may not be in your best interest. Here are some alternate options. If you are still interested in working in healthcare, here are 3 or 4 different ways that you can do that, as opposed to just going to med school or not being admitted to med school or professional school. We also highlight study abroad. About 40% of our students will study abroad at Butler. We have access to about 200 different programs in 60 different countries. Of those programs, about 30 or so are what we call reciprocal exchanges. These are agreements that we've entered into with universities around the world where we basically trade students. Some of ours go to them, some of theirs come to us. And the great advantage of those reciprocal exchanges is you get to retain 100% of your scholarships and your financial aid. The other programs, it may be that you are interested in a university or a particular country that is not part of those reciprocal exchanges, and we're going to help you to find those too. Those might be it might be a can't miss experience for you in a particular place or a particular university, and we're going to work with you to make sure that you get to those places. So a little bit about living on campus. We are a residential campus. We are located about 5 miles north of downtown Indianapolis in a neighborhood called the Butler Tarkington neighborhood. So it's all residential around us. The campus is about 300 acres. It's very much a park-like setting. 3 of our 4 main residence halls, our student union, majority of the academic buildings are all within about a 3 or 4 minute walk. So we don't have a bus system. You're not hiking from one end to the other. Everything is fairly centrally located. We do, like I said, require students to live on campus their first 3 years. And we have 2 main freshman residence halls. Both of them are suite style. So there will be 4 people living in them with an adjoining bathroom. Irvington House is our newest one that opened just last year, and that residence hall again is for freshmen, and you can see a picture of that. So you'll have some bedding areas and then like a common bathroom or a shared bathroom. Same thing with residential college. This was built in the late 1980s, right around 1990. Again, 2 rooms and an adjoining bathroom. And then as you move up into your sophomore year, you have the ability to live in Fairview House. Fairview is what I would call kind of a hybrid between a traditional residence hall and an apartment style residence. So these are made of basically 6 and 8 person, what we call pods. So there will be a common living area, a little kitchenette, and then bedding and bathroom areas for 6 or 8 people. So this one was built and opened maybe about 5 years ago. And again, is primarily sophomore residence hall. Not pictured there is the apartment village. Apartment village is for junior status or 21 years and up. That one is a little bit not as centrally located. It's over near our athletic facilities, overlooking our football and soccer field. But again, that is more of a traditional 4-bedroom apartment style setup. So a little bit about life on campus. We have about 130 or so different student organizations. They run the spectrum from faith-based organizations, social service, arts organizations, young Democrats, young Republicans, all the things that you would typically expect. There are always new ones being added, and some of them fall away as interests kind of change and evolve over time. We do have a Greek system. We are about 35 to 37% Greek. we kind of refer to our Greek system as being prominent but not dominant. It's a big part of campus, it's a big part of the culture at Butler, and it's part of our history. But in my 19 years at Butler, I've never heard of any cases of students really judging each other one way or the other if you are or are not Greek. And I think part of the reason for that is we do a deferred recruitment. Our students go through recruitment second semester. So your freshman year, you move in, you're developing friendship circles and social circles and in developing these relationships with people. And then as you go through recruitment, it's not like you get to that point and you say, you know what, now that I am in this sorority or this fraternity, I'm going to drop you as a friend. It doesn't really happen that way. It's a much more relaxed atmosphere. I've heard students refer to our Greek life as very constructive as opposed to being destructive. So what you see in media or what you might see at a large public institution is really not the vibe of our Greek life. They do have houses on campus, 7 sororities, 4 fraternities. And that does satisfy the on-campus living requirement should you choose to live in the Greek houses in your sophomore, junior, or senior year. We have intramural sports going on all the time. So there's always intramural basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments, all that type of thing is going on. We do have about 20 different club sports. Club sports are great if you're a student athlete, but don't necessarily want to or don't have the talent to get to a D1, D2, D3 level, but still want to compete. It's a great option because our students will compete and train and compete against other university club teams. So there's a number of different club opportunities. And we are Division I in all of our athletics, 19 different Division I sports. We are in the Big East for the vast majority of them. You get into all the athletic events for free, basketball games, football games, soccer matches, all of those are free for students to get into. I mentioned earlier just where we're located in Indianapolis, just to kind of highlight a little bit more about that. This is a shot of downtown Indianapolis. Like I said, we're about 10 minutes away from downtown. Our location in Indy and the location of campus really makes it such that you can bear down, get your work done, get your papers written, get you studying for tests, and kind of tune out the city. You don't really know that you're in Indianapolis when you're on our campus. And likewise, you can be about three blocks from campus and not know that we're there. But it's nice to be able to get downtown to take advantage of the cultural and social stuff, the professional sports and amateur sports. It's become something of a foodie town. So there's a ton of great restaurants that you can experience and lots of really vibrant, great neighborhoods. And it's nice to have like the best of both worlds in that we are a small campus, but on the doorstep of a big city. I think if you took Butler's campus and put it down in a rural area, it would have a completely different vibe to it. But it's one of the things that we appreciate. And obviously the professional opportunities of having a large city, Fortune 500 companies, either headquartered or with offices in Indianapolis, those professional opportunities are a big part of why we are who we are. So a little bit about our admission process, just to kind of walk through what's expected, what we're looking for. Just a quick picture of what our academic profile looks like. Our ACT middle 50% is between a 24 and 30. Our SAT middle 50% is 1150 to 1300. And our GPA is about a 3.7 to 4.2 on that middle 50%. There are going to be students that are above that, students below that, students that are on both ends of the spectrum. As I said, most programs, you're going to see a pretty wide range. Our College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, it's a good idea if you're at least within shouting distance or above that middle 50%. So that's an important distinction to make as well. So jumping into the application, as I read your application, the word holistic gets used a lot in college admissions, and I've kind of gotten really tired of it because it's lost meaning because everybody uses it. I use the word context. So there's a ton of context as I'm reviewing your application. There's quite literally 30, 40, 50 different things that I'm thinking about and looking at and checking off in my mind as I'm reading through an application. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means. The pieces of the application itself, the Butler application or the common application, either one is accepted. There's no application fee for either. And there's no preference to one versus the other. So it really doesn't matter to us, whatever you're most comfortable with. Each of those applications has a prompt for writing sample or essay. You can answer any of those questions. That will be fine. My best advice on the essay is really to take a deep breath and relax. The worst essays I read every year are the students who are really trying to write, quote unquote, the perfect essay. If you're going to submit an essay, or what you're going to do, write what you want to write from the heart, write personally, obviously write well to a degree, but let your voice come through and you'll be just fine. As I said, there are some really bad essays, but a lot of times they're ones where students are maybe just trying a little bit too hard. So I always say, take a deep breath. Your transcript and your secondary school report, you're going to want to have those sent, and that's where a lot of good information comes from. But again, it's not just about your GPA. So some of the things that we're looking at in your transcript are grade trends. Are your grades moving up? Are they trending downward? That's always something that we're going to look at. The context of your school. We know that a 3.5 at one school is not necessarily equal to a 3.5 at another school, and we take that into account. That's really my job as your counselor, to know the strengths and weaknesses of one school versus another and take that into account. We also look at the rigor of your curriculum. Are you in AP courses, IB courses, honors courses, any of those types of things? That plays a part. So one of the questions I often get is, I'm taking an AP course and I'm getting a B in it. Doesn't that hurt me? Well, not necessarily, because we know that you're taking a little bit tougher course. And so we're going to take that into account. We also look at the relevancy of the courses that you're taking. If you're looking at engineering or a STEM-based field, for example, are you taking a fourth year of math? Are you taking a fourth year of science? Does it reflect what you're interested in? If your worst grades are in sciences and math, but you are applying for English, that's going to be a little bit different conversation than if you were applying for a STEM-based field. There is relevancy to what you're taking and how well you're doing in them based on what you're interested in studying or what you're indicating you want to study. You'll see that we have now gone test optional for ACT and SAT. We are trying to be as flexible as possible. So as you go through the application process, we allow you to change, because we know that test dates are being canceled, test centers are being closed at short notice. And so your ability to test may not be there, and it may be taken away from you last minute. So we are allowing you to apply with one direction and switch that one time up until the point where you receive your admission decision. So if you want to change, if you applied with test scores, but you know that you're not going to be able to get in to take a test until December, you can switch to being test optional. Likewise, after you receive your decision, if you do have a December ACT or SAT score and want to submit that, you can do so. We'll take that in and we'll take another look at your scholarship. We won't take any of your scholarship money away, but it's possible that your scholarship may go up if you have a really high SAT or ACT score, but you just got it very late in the process. My best advice on applying test optional, or whether or not to, is really just it's a tough thing for you to figure out, but really take a look and just determine for yourself, do you feel like your SAT or ACT scores are representative of your abilities? If you think they are, then certainly submit them. If you don't think they are, then don't. And it sounds like a very blunt statement, but that's really the truth. So also, we would accept a resume. Most applications are gonna have a list of your activities. So we look at that. How involved are you in school? What kinds of things, what kind of community service things are you involved in? All of that plays a part in that context of your application. Letters of recommendation are also optional. We do get them from the majority of our students. If they're there, we read them as part of the decision. If we don't count it against you. So a couple of dates to be aware of. Obviously, our application is open. November 1st is our early action deadline. It is not a binding deadline, but probably 75% of our students will apply by November 1st. Your best chance of all the different scholarship opportunities, honors program eligibility, all of that is tied to the November 1 date. If you wait past that, you're still going to have a great chance of admission. You're still going to be considered for our main scholarship and our largest scholarship program, but the honors program eligibility and some of the application-based scholarships will not be available to you after November 1st. You'll also see that we do recommend filing the FAFSA. Even if you are from a family that is a moderate or higher income family, if your parents feel like you may not be eligible for aid, we still want you to go through that FAFSA process. And the reason that we want you to do that is that even if you are not eligible for federal grants and loans, you may still be eligible for Butler-based need grants. So we want you to go through that process. We're going to allocate those grants in a way that's different than the merit scholarships. So we want to make sure that you're doing that. And about 97% of our students will receive some type of merit scholarship, need-based aid, or a combination of the two. So just talking a little bit more about the November 1st deadline, we are reading applications right now. We intend to start sending decisions out in the latter part of October, and all of our decisions will be out by mid-December. We will let you know about your academic scholarship, and those range from $15,000 to $22,000. It's going to be based on your grades, your test scores if you have them. We're not going to punish you if you don't have test scores. We have ways of just kind of reallocating that and reconfiguring your scholarship regardless of what you present and don't present. And those scholarships are renewable for each year that you are at Butler. You'll keep rolling those forward for 4 years or 5 years if you're in our engineering program. I'm going to put my contact information up here. You're welcome to jot that down and contact me at any point if you have questions. But I'll close on saying that I've been at Butler, like I said, a little over 19 years. It's a really unique place. We're populated by a lot of students that are, obviously pretty smart, pretty ambitious, but it's not a very high pressure environment. It's a very collaborative place rather than competitive place. Our students tend to want to get ahead with each other as opposed to at the expense of one another. And I think it makes it a unique environment. It's a really good community. People, you're going to hear this a lot, and I'm sure some places it's true and some places it's not. But people, make eye contact. They hold doors. It's a very relaxed kind of place. Again, with the idea that students are still trying to do well and move themselves ahead academically and professionally. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have in the chat. If you want to throw those out there, I'm going to answer them. And we have about 10 minutes left, so you're welcome to hang out, ask questions. If you want to ask me offline and just email me, that's certainly fine too. But I will close with that and allow you to kind of shoot questions into the Q&A part. All right, one question. I am a dancer. What is the admission process for dance majors? It's basically a two-step process. So what we do with dance majors is basically you're going to apply to the university, and I'm going to make the admission decision based on your academics. But once you apply, within about 24 hours, you'll receive a link to a secondary application. That secondary application will be for all of our Jordan College of Art students, and you're going to fill that in and you're going to submit your resume and information there. This year has presented us with a little bit of a challenge, especially for dance majors. We have typically required all students in the lower 48 states to come to campus to audition. We had a couple of regional auditions, but basically we wanted them to come to campus. That's not going to be possible this year, so they will be video auditions. So you're going to submit videotape and or a link to a clip for your dance audition. All of the details for that would be as part of that application. The Jordan College of Arts actually has an admission representative. Her name is Amy Barnes. She handles all of the scheduling in a normal year for our auditions. And she's a great contact, and she is one who would be able to tell you all the details before you apply if you wanted to know of what's going to be required as part of that audition process. So hopefully that answered that question. The second question here, so when we apply and get accepted, how are we given the scholarship, or do we just apply for one with the followed guidelines? So that question, basically everyone is going to be considered for the main academic scholarship just by virtue of applying. So you're going to be notified of that. And as I said before, it's sort of a combination of your GPA, a little bit of weight is given to your test scores if you have test scores. And you're going to be notified about that when you get your admission decision. There are some other scholarships that are application based and very specific and narrow in scope. So those would be like our Center for Faith and Vocation Scholarship offers a few scholarships for students who apply and demonstrate an interest in the exploring the intersection of one's faith and one's vocation. There is the Morton Finney Scholars Program, which is really centered around students who are doing things centered around diversity, equity, and inclusion, either in their schools or in their communities. And again, that's an application-based one. You want to make sure you get everything in by November 1st, but you'll be invited to apply for that. And there's an application, there's an essay, and then we go through a selection process for those. The Martin Finney scholarships can range from like $5,000 all the way up to a handful of full tuition scholarships as well. There are audition-based awards for all of the arts programs. So dance, music, theater, I believe for Art Plus Design as well. They will offer some scholarships based on your audition for those programs too. So third question here is, I heard you guys have a pre-law thing. What happens during that? Like on what topics would be going on? So pre-law or any pre-professional session, you're not going to get a degree called pre-law. You're going to choose an academic plan. Most common for law would be political science, history. Many students will major in business, but they'll be designated as a pre-law student by you indicating that on your application. So your information is going to go to our pre-professional advisors. And then once you start at Butler, they'll do a call out, sort of a general meeting to say, okay, we're your advisors, you're our pre-law students or pre-med students or pre-vet students, and here's how you can work with us and how we can work with you to make sure that you're getting the right courses along the way, plugging into the internship opportunities that are available, plugging into the professional opportunities that are available, really kind of setting you up for success in those 4 years during your bachelor degree to go on to a professional school afterwards. And so that's going to mean different things to different people. If you are pre-med, you're certainly going to want to make sure, regardless of your major, that you're having a critical mass of cell bio classes and biochemistry and organic chemistry. If you're pre-law, you want to make sure that you're taking some courses that are in philosophy. You may wish to take a Latin course. All of those things are going to be built into your experience at Butler and kind of hammered home by your advisors to make sure that you are getting those experiences as part of your education. So a question about how difficult it is to be a double major as a dancer. I won't sugarcoat it. It is pretty difficult. There are going to be some majors that are a little bit easier than others. So I would say, as a general rule, and there's going to be some exceptions, as a general rule of thumb, if your primary major is as a dance student, areas of humanities, possibly communications, maybe business, maybe social sciences are going to be easier. There are going to be some areas where it's impossible to be a dancer and a pharmacist. They will just tell you no. It would be extremely difficult to be a dancer and health sciences major. It just doesn't work. And even into some of the natural sciences, if you're looking at like biology or biochemistry or something like that, the difficulty with being a dancer and a major in those areas is a lot of logistics. A lot of times your rehearsal times are going to be at the exact times that labs are held. And it's just a product of how scheduling works. So that makes it doubly difficult. So yes, the short answer is there's going to be some majors that lend itself a little bit more easily to than others. So yes, for pre-law or any of our pre-professional programs, you can major in anything that you want. Even kind of going back to the last question, if you want to be a dance student and be pre-law, you can certainly do that. You're going to have to be creative in the courses that you take. But again, remember, pre-law or pre-professional program isn't an actual curriculum. It's just a program that's set to take you on to professional school. So yeah, you can do anything. We've had students that have gone on to medical school with degrees in English. We've had students that have gone on to medical school with degrees in business. We've had students that have gone on to law school with degrees in biology. If you are interested in bioethics, that's certainly something that you can do as well. So yeah, if you just following up, yeah, computer science, absolutely. You can double major. Double majoring is, again, pretty common across most areas. There are going to be some exceptions, like I've talked about before, in the health sciences and some of the arts programs. But most areas, it's going to be relatively easy to double major, even across different colleges. So yeah, absolutely. Great questions. And I think we are close to being out of time. I think we have 2 minutes left. Oh, great question. So yeah, checking if you're able to get done in 4 years. Yeah, short answer is yeah. If you are double majoring, you just know that you're adding a lot more to your plate. It may mean that you're taking 18 credits a couple of semesters instead of 15. But yeah, completely common for students to be able to be done in 4 years and double major. All right, well, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight and listening, and I'm going to turn it back over to our StrifeScan rep, and let me know if you have any questions along the way. Take care, have a good night, have a good rest of the fall.
All right, so one more slide for you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. When you close this window, there's going to be a link to a quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is just one of many sessions being hosted, so please be sure to sign up for any additional sessions at CACRAO.org. That's CACRAO.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all the other session recordings at CACRAO.org. That's CACRAO.org. Thank you so much.